Hi Virgo, welcome to your November 2018 Astro Update. It's Rena here, and November is, I think, a pivotal month because we have a couple of longer-term transits that begin this month, and they have long-lasting consequences, or they can, and they are both what I consider positive energies. So I'll talk about them in a second. I just want to start from the beginning. The month opens up with the sun in Scorpio, and this is your third house of communication. And this is the house that Gemini rules. But because you and Gemini are both ruled by Mercury, there's some similarities to how you and Gemini operate and what interests you. So this is a good place for the sun to be. It forms a sextile to your sun or rising sign, and it has to do with anything related to teaching and learning, and maybe some of you are looking for jobs in an elementary school or high school, and this could be indicating that if you have a writing project and you're getting creative about it, that could be what's happening as well. At the same time, Mars is in Aquarius, and that is the house that you rule, the sixth house. So both of these houses are ruled by Mercury, and they're coming into the month with them in these houses. And Mars in the sixth house can be either a conflict with a coworker or in your place of work in general, or you may just be doing a lot of overtime, and maybe you're just really working hard for whatever reason. You know, in November, it's right before the Christmas season. Maybe this is a big time for the place of your place of employment where there's some connection to Christmas, or maybe because of the holidays, you're going to have to cram everything in before that, and you're just raring to go. The other possibility is in the area of health, which the sixth house can be, and perhaps you're adding more exercise into your daily routine. On the 6th, Uranus, which is retrograding, goes into the 8th house. And I'm just going to bring up that first important transit the next day, where the North Node is going into Cancer in your 11th house of hopes and wishes. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is because until the 7th, the North Node is in your 12th house. And so Uranus going back into your 8th house may have meant that during the Uranus transit in Aries, which was a 7-year transit ending in mid-May, you explored metaphysics in a more in-depth way. It could have been that you were experimenting with different practices that increased your psychic ability, or just maybe even through, it's more like, I think it would be more like that though, not just researching, but more of a hands-on type of a thing, because Uranus is very intuitive, and the 8th house being Scorpio's natural house, that's a very that's a water house, so it's intuitive on that level, but it deals with the mysteries of life and things like that. And so you may have been attracted to it with Uranus entering there, especially involving astrology, I would say, or kind of these practices that, yeah, maybe the tarot, but I've heard especially astrology. And now there might be something that is bringing that back into your reality, but you might have had spontaneous psychic experiences, and you're going to have some more of those for whatever reason. But at that same time that Uranus was in Aries, you had the North Node in the 12th house. So you may have even had people come into your life who possibly, maybe you had experiences with in other lifetimes that could help you with your spiritual life. So a mentor, a guru, whatever you want to call it, a spiritual teacher. Perhaps you found some practice that has really improved your life overall, but a spiritual practice I'm talking about specifically. But even like spiritual experiences, maybe dreams, lucid dreaming, anything that is supernatural, that may have been things that, because the North Node is your, your destiny that's unfolding in different areas of your life. And at this point in your life, with the North Node in the 12th house, that would have been the time when it was good for you to experience these things. Sometimes people try to force spiritual experiences, and that can be dangerous because it's premature. So we're talking about things unfolding as they should. And now on the 7th, the North Node goes into Cancer, and because it has a backwards motion, it goes into the sign before it. So it was in Leo, now it's in Cancer, and that's your 11th house of your wildest dreams. It's also the house of your friendships and your groups. So in the next 18 months, you may find your tribe. You may find those people that you really feel an affinity for. Again, this could be somewhat karmic, and maybe you've already been introduced to some of them, but you form a strong bond. What I meant was like maybe when the North Node was in the 12th house, that was when you were introduced to certain people, and then you start to kind of become this collective. The 11th house is a collective or groups of people that are coming together, I'm assuming because they have similar interests. But this could even be like at a deeper level than that. Like it's like finding your tribe and when we talk about star seeds and things like that, where indigos and crystal children, people that are, they could be from different walks of life, maybe even different countries with the internet these days. And the 11th house, by the way, is the internet. So maybe that's also how you come in contact with these people. And you find out we belong together. We need to form this group, or it could, who knows, maybe you've always wanted to live in a kind of a communal setting and this comes true for you. I actually, and the internet is a big part of that. I think that any of these things could be what is happening with the thing related to the internet. The 3rd house, where the sun is at, and the 11th house are both connected to the internet. The 3rd house through the basic umbrella of communication, and the 11th house because it's technology, but also because it's the collective. So reaching the masses. Television, I think, is also, featured with the 11th house and any form of technology. So that could be playing a role for you if you start an internet business, start a YouTube channel. You may just feel the strong urge to do things along these lines. And on the same day, there's a new moon in Scorpio in that 3rd house. So I look at these two transits on the same day, and I ask myself, is there a connection between the 3rd and 11th houses? Yes, there is. Both of them are ruled by air signs, Gemini, the 3rd, and Aquarius, the 11th. And you have a new moon in one, and you have the North Node in the other. Obviously, the new moon influence is rather fleeting, but it could still plant seeds for future harvest in the way of communication or teaching. Yeah, and learning too. I mean, you might be taking a new certification course or something along those lines. On the 15th, on the 8th, Jupiter goes into Sagittarius, the 4th house of home and family. Before I even continue, I've done a separate video on Jupiter in the different signs. Check out my playlist on my channel. I made a playlist just for Jupiter and Sagittarius, I am pretty sure. And although sometimes I do not include all the videos, sometimes people say to me, are you ever going to, do a video for my sign, looking at the playlist? And it just usually is that somehow it didn't get added to the playlist. So check out my channel if you can't find it. But on the very next day, after the new moon and after the North Node, we have Jupiter in Sagittarius. So I feel that's very significant, and I think you should too. Fourth house, home and family. Jupiter, mother. Luck through the mother, some kind of money through the mother. This is going to be a 13-month transit. This is a good time to say that this is a general reading, and the dates that I'm giving you may not correspond with your particular sun in Virgo, or which is the solar chart, or the rising Virgo, the natal chart. You would need the exact degree of sun and rising to pinpoint the dates. You can always get a personal reading for that. I have links below to my natal chart interpretations, but the whole purpose of this is just to give an overview. I know I'm being very exact here, but that's as far as I'm willing to go, because I'm not going to do the different decans of the sign. It's just, my brain doesn't work that way, and I'd have to write everything down. But this is a general reading. And so there's going to be, with Jupiter in Sagittarius, this can expand your home base. I mean, you could even get a new home that's bigger. You could add to your current home. Maybe you just get more land. Maybe it's just more, you get a smaller house, a tiny house, and bigger land. Virgos tend to be minimalists. I can't imagine many Virgos wanting a McMansion, but maybe you just want more space to like sprawl out. Sorry, I was eating salad and it just fell onto my lap here. So there could be an addition to your household. There could be an addition to anything connected to the fourth house. Money can be indicated here, so you can make money from the sale of a home. You could, so it can be luck. Maybe you find the home that you've always wanted, but it happens in a very kind of serendipitous way. But do check out my Jupiter reading for more information. On the 15th, Mars goes into Pisces. That's your opposite sign, Virgo, Pisces, in your opposite house, the 7th house. So that's the marital sector. So could there be conflict happening here? Possibly, but there could be sexy time, you could get that, you could get your sex, you could have some sexual healing, have more of that come back into your life. Mars is the libido. What else? Maybe you're just very aggressive about trying to gain new clients for your business. Or maybe you have a court case. The 7th house could be some legal matter, and you're fighting it tooth and nail. On the 16th, Venus goes direct in Libra, which is your second house of earned income. So that's nice, because when Venus goes through a money house like that, and Venus rules money, Venus rules the second house. You may have noticed that things were drying up a little bit in the last few weeks, and you're like, oh, what the heck is going on here? And it's I think Venus went direct. I think Venus went into this house on November 1st, but I'm not entirely sure. I think so. But now the money situation should be resolved. This is the money that you earn yourself. But I would just say in general, I wouldn't limit it to that. And you should start to see more of it with Venus in that house direct. And also, this is a house of self-esteem. So you may have resolved something within yourself that had to do with your own value. And sometimes money is associated with that as well. On the same day, Mercury goes retrograde. So we get one thing going direct and another thing going retrograde in that 4th house of home and family. So maybe you are trying to sell a house or buy a house and the contract is a little bit hinky and you've got to redo something. Signing contracts during Mercury retrograde is generally not advised, but what if there's a special deal and that's the only time? That would be crazy not to. Just be very careful. But in general, this could be rethinking a particular house that you were planning on buying. So maybe that's you holding things up. It's only a few weeks when this is occurring. So if it's anything that has to do with you thought you were going to close on a house and you feel like, oh, now it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. On the 22nd, the sun goes into Sagittarius. There's that fourth house again. But the sun pours positive vibes into this area that has to do with domestic affairs. And you may be starting to get into nesting mode where you're like, hey, I want to possibly do something along these lines. One thing I wanted to say, because I did have to redo this video, is that with Jupiter in the fourth house, if you've been wanting to stay home to raise a child and you felt like there was no way you could do so financially, something may come into play that allows you to do just that. On the very same day that the sun goes into Sag, we have the moon going into your 10th house of career, which is the opposite house. It's a full moon in Gemini, and so these are both 0 degrees. And the full moon in Gemini, this could be some kind of, again, that's why I said what I said, because sometimes it can be an ending. Maybe you quit your job or quit your career, but it's really probably putting it on hold so that you can go and stay with your child. The full moon in the 10th house can point to recognition in career. This is going to be a cusp with conjunction with the cusp of the 10th house. Obviously, here's another thing too. This is an equal house type of a scenario. So again, not going to be the average person's experience, but that's how we have to make these forecasts. We don't have the luxury of talking to every single person of one sign and being able to cater to them specifically. Yeah, so full moons in the 10th house can mean that the career is highlighted and you're being seen by others for your talents. On the 24th, we have Neptune going direct in the 7th house of committed partnership. So for the last several months, Neptune has been retrograding in this area. And you may have had some quite disappointing revelations about your partner. Maybe some illusions that you held were kind of stripped bare. Because Neptune can be about denial and illusions. And when it goes retrograde, it like pulls off that mask or that curtain and forces people to see what they have been avoiding. Now that Neptune is direct in the 7th house, you can be idealistic again. You can, think the best of the other person if you really feel that you're meant to be with them forever. And even if a couple has problems, it doesn't mean that they're automatically going to bail on the relationship. They may feel that the relationship has promise, even though right now it's struggling. So that can be you, once again, having your faith restored. But it's not just faith. It's kind of like holding steadfastly onto what you believe the relationship really symbolizes. And maybe you feel like other people around you don't know what you have with this person. And so they're putting in their 2 cents perhaps, and they don't really have a full picture of what the two of you mean to each other. So that's kind of a romantic way, I guess you could say, to end this month of November. And I hope that you enjoyed this, Virgo. Have a wonderful month. Take care. Bye.